So we have a concerning story now. OP says, this is the teacher subreddit. OP says, one of my kids earlier this week had a panic attack in class. That's not fun. I've never had panic attacks. I can't imagine how, scary that is. They said she was very upset, crying, and didn't want to talk to anybody. I've had meltdowns like that, but they've always had like reasons, like where I just like broke down out of like stress and things like that. Like mine had like direct reasons. I can't imagine what it's like to just like break down like that without like an external cause. Just like your internal mind is just like so, in pain, in such pain that you just like break down like this. That is horrible on that person. I'm very sorry. They said, I called the nurse, and she called the social worker, who came down and spoke with her in the hallway. Do all schools have social workers? Just like there? I'm not sure. I don't remember my schools having a social worker, but really good that they have social workers. Even if it's a recent trend. Very good. OP says, student didn't say much apparently and went to her next class like normal. Okay. A few days later, as we're watching a movie, she asked to step out to call her mom. I let her, and a few moments after, she comes back and shows me cut marks on her wrists. Ouch. Okay. That sucks. I wonder, if, it's because of like rough family life. Because she mentioned calling her mom. She says, they were definitely fresh, but not too deep from my initial view of them, so I called the nurse and had her come get her. Before the student left, I asked her how did she do that, and what did she use. She said her friend next door gave her a knife and did it with her. I asked her if she was sure, and it didn't have to do with her, and if she didn't have the knife with her, and she said no. If she had the knife with her, she said no. Of course, that set off a whole new incident, so I called the AP office, the assistant principal office. Secretary tells me they were in a principal meeting. Oh man, that's not good. Hopefully she can find someone to help. But like, wouldn't this be an issue for the social worker? Why is she jumping all the way to the assistant principal? Like, why? Like, you just get the social worker to, to make the appropriate decisions and then report to the principal in the end, Why this? Get the principal involved if necessary, but why this? Why this, escalation, unless the school has a direct policy telling her she has to, report to the assistant principal immediately. They say, I didn't want to worry the rest of my kids, so I watched the other girl and waited. So I guess like outside of the, maybe inside or outside of the class, I don't know. 30 minutes, no one ever showed up. I told her to wait after class, and I escorted her myself to the office. That's pretty messed up. Maybe the social worker might have showed up faster, but because it seems like they definitely showed up when they needed the social worker the first time. But that's pretty horrible. They say, on the way back to my room, I told the campus police officer what happened, and he went to check up on her. That's good. No AP ever showed up, no security, nothing. Imagine being that girl, like, struggling with whatever caused, the self-harm issue, and, nobody shows up when you finally, when you finally muster up the courage to actually fully tell somebody, that you feel like you can trust, that you self-harm, hoping that they could help in some way. And that teacher was able to, lead them, to what they thought would be a helpful solution. But like, that assistant principal never showed up for her. That's really messed up. Again, I keep saying, I wonder, if taking the kid to the social worker at that point would have done better. But I don't know why they went to the social. I don't know why they went to the assistant principal here, but it's still really sad that they didn't show up for this student. They say, for all they talk about safe school and stuff like that, it sure didn't feel like they cared. The assistant principal might have been busy, that's why they have the social worker there. So I think, assuming that they don't care at all is a bit much, but okay. They say, I should have remembered how important these principals' meetings can be. Yeah, maybe the assistant principal and principal should have, a cell phone that they could step out the room with, but, again, if they have a social worker there, that's what the social worker is there to handle. It's things like this, and again, then report to the principal after that. But, this is a messed up story. Let's see what commenters say. One says, it sounds like all your communication was verbal, as in phone calls and conversations. You should keep all sensitive and meaningful exchanges as emails and texts. That might have helped, because if the assistant principal was looking at their email in the meeting, they could have, and OP used a very, strong subject line. They could have gotten the assistant principal's attention that way, and they would have hopefully read it during the meeting and, taken more appropriate action. So that is reasonable. And just in general, yeah, you want to have that text trail to make sure that your situation is being taken seriously, and so you can point to that when need be, to show hey, this is what I said, this is when I reported this issue, and this is what came of it, or lack thereof, any reply to that email that the teacher sent, the hypothetical email the teacher would send. So definitely reasonable. They said, okay. The commenter says, people respond differently when there's an automatic documentation. Interesting. Makes sense. They said, if anything happened to the student, they would just present an alternate version of the events. Yeah, without the emails. Yeah. You couldn't really, you couldn't really argue otherwise. So good point on this person's part. Another person says, I had a kid destroy my room and sent an emergency online referral. Yeah, whatever they're going through, destroying the room definitely deserves an online referral so somebody can deal with that. They said no one came because they were in an awards ceremony. That is pretty messed up, and kind of shows the, corruption, if you will, of society, where nobody can be there when things are going to heck because they're too busy patting themselves on the back. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but there you go. They said, after calling multiple times, they sent a custodian to remove him from my room of 28 terrified third graders. Oh man, a custodian, dude. Custodians deal with enough. Sending a custodian to, also be a child remover if the child is misbehaving a lot. I know that happened actually once in my elementary school, where this kid, I think it happened a couple of times with the same kid. He was really disruptive, and probably maybe neurodivergent, or just going through a rough home life. And this particular custodian, maybe because they had a friendship going on, or this guy just was used to dealing with this kid, he kept having to come in and wrestle the kid or settle him down, and take him out of the classroom. But yeah, that shouldn't be the custodian's job, unless they have a bond with the kid already, or some kind of the kid feels most safe with that person. It doesn't make sense. They said the third graders were taking an important district exam. Gotta love them exams. They said, reason 100 million, I quit that year. Yeah, teachers definitely have to deal with a lot of stupid stuff that makes them eventually quit. So, makes sense. Another person said, this needs to be leaked to the school board. Absolutely. So that, assistant principals can be more reliable in this situation. And be forced to take action so this doesn't happen again to that poor student or any other student. And last commenter says, that's a terrible situation to manage while you have a class full of students looking at you. Yeah, that's the other thing. Given the situation, how is that going to impact, what other students are thinking? If another student in that class is going through rough times at home or, in school or whatever with bullying, how are they going to feel about, coming to a teacher to try and solve the issue if, this is what happens if, the upper authorities are failing so badly, students are not going to feel safe relying on these teachers. It didn't even cross my mind in K through 12 to talk to a counselor about any of the stuff going on at home. It just felt I don't know. I was probably because of my autism and whatnot, I was already because of my autism and ADHD, I was already causing enough trouble for him, so it didn't feel right to continue to cause trouble by continuing to cause trouble by talking about my home life. Didn't even cross my mind because in my mind the counselors were there to deal with school stuff, not what's going on at home. Let's make sense of all the weird stuff going on at your house. That just wasn't what they were there for in my mind. So coming to them about those issues never crossed my mind, even though one time in 5th grade a counselor did randomly pull me in to their office and go through what my home life was to just evaluate me. But I think part of that was because of an incident that happened with my older sister years before that. Everything turned out to be fine, but it wasn't a good situation. And so it would kind of make sense that 3 years later, with how weird I behaved, they'd be concerned about my own family, because that might have been the same counselor that was dealing with my older sister back then. But yeah, anyway, sorry if this doesn't make sense, but anyway, the commenter said you did very well. Again, I would have contacted the social worker instead, but all in all, the teacher stayed calm and made sure that the other classmates got as little of the drama to deal with as possible. So overall, they did a good job, the teacher. The commenter says, all teachers should take some time to prep for something like that. Yeah. Load the admin phone numbers into your phone and get to know the campus police officer. I know in a past video there was there was definitely that debate of if campus officers should even be there, especially at an elementary school, because any aggressiveness that they show toward kids that age in elementary school would just be so traumatic for those kids. But so maybe stick to the social workers rather than campus officers, but definitely get somebody involved. You could say stuff about oh, the fact that this person just automatically went to getting the campus officer involved rather than a social worker involved shows their privilege, because they rely on they find the officers just as safe. There's a discussion to have about that, but that might be going too deep here. But ultimately, yeah, there you go. a student was ignored in their time of need, and now they probably, because of the whole situation, because of how, the adults just neglected the situation except for the teacher. I mean, now she or he probably has less, willingness to talk to talk to authorities when things are bad in the future, and same potentially for their classmates and anybody that their classmates talk to. Yeah, like, hopefully that makes sense. For some reason, it feels like this video like just didn't make sense, but hopefully it did. What do you think? What would you do if you were the teacher? How would you feel if you were that student who, like, the authorities failed? Have you been that student who the authorities failed in a school? Comment below, let me know anything and everything you're thinking, and any suggestions you have for me to improve, or suggestions for content you want to see more of, or you want to see that I haven't shown yet on this channel. Comment below, let me know, and I will see you next time. This has been CoolHotTakes, so like and subscribe if you liked it. Thanks so much for watching.